looking into the impact as President Trump makes good on a promise to crack down on undocumented immigrants. Arrests are up, but is Cleveland's immigration court up to the task? Legal experts tell us a backlog of cases is already forming, and the line is now several years long.
Only on News 5, Megan Hickey takes a closer look at the numbers and what they mean for taxpayers right here in Ohio.
There are nearly 100,000 undocumented immigrants living in Ohio, and just 3 judges handling immigration cases. Legal experts tell me a backlog of cases is already forming.
I was
just trying to basically have the American dream, and it became a nightmare.
That nightmare being deported, and Francisco Pastor Hernandez knows better than most that it's a long and costly process getting that final decision. And the situation isn't always cut and dry.
I left my country in 2011. I crossed to the U.S. in 2012. I paid a smuggler to get me here to the U.S.
Hernandez is claiming political asylum. He's an indigenous Guatemalan. And because of his race, as a young boy, he was tormented and beaten by members of a gang.
I came here to have a better life for me and my family.
He's been building other people's American dreams in Ohio since he was 16. But 3 years ago, Hernandez was detained after an officer asked for his ID. That was the beginning of his deportation proceedings. And the terror that he once felt in Guatemala was back.
I'm afraid now to go out and enjoy life because I'm afraid that they can just come and pick me up anytime.
And many immigrants like Hernandez will now be waiting longer.
Justice is slow.
And legal experts tell me it's getting slower because the immigration enforcement priorities under President Trump have changed.
And the new rules are, for the most part, every person who violated immigration law at some point in the past is a priority.
Before, immigrants like Hernandez with no criminal record were not considered a priority. And because of that, he, like many others, had his case administratively closed. But now the Department of Homeland Security has been given a new directive, which means the lines to see federal immigration judges in Cleveland are getting longer, with some hearings scheduled
as far as 2019 all the way to 2021.
And Ohio was already short-handed. There are only 3 federal immigration court judges in the entire state, and they're all here in Cleveland. To make matters worse, one of those judges retired at the end of April and won't be replaced until the end of May. So right now, there are only 2, leaving immigrants like Hernandez waiting in limbo for years.
I'm trying to enjoy life right now, but my fear is like in any second they can just come and get me or send a letter saying that you have to go back to court and start the process again.
DeFranco said that the backlog of cases doesn't just affect undocumented immigrants waiting for hearings. Whether you support tighter immigration laws or not, it will impact all taxpayers alike as more cases are pushed through the courts.
The Department of Justice may spend roughly $24,000 on one case for the life of the case.
The Department of Homeland Security outlined the change in priorities in February, along with plans to hire 10,000 more immigration and customs enforcement employees, but did not explain how it would be paid for.
Will the taxpayers have to foot a much bigger bill now that we are putting more people into the system? Yes.
I reached out to the Cleveland Federal Immigration Court to comment on their caseload, but as of this evening, we have not received a response. In the studio, Megan Hickey, News 5.